In my family, I was the eldest daughter who was never the center of attention. In the house where Kelly, my younger sister, fought asthma, I fought invisibility. I would get myself ready for school in the mornings while Mom hurried to Kelly's room to check her breathing. This was the routine every morning. "My darling Kelly, how are you doing today?" With an air of genuine worry in her voice, Mom would offer to take her temperature. "Keep your inhaler on hand. Would you prefer that I contact Dr. Thompson?" Standing in the doorway, all dolled up and prepared for school, I watched this routine every day. In the past, I would improvise my lunches, which often consisted of a sandwich and an apple. All of Kelly's favorite foods were expertly prepared for her. Dad was very much the same. To cover Kelly's medical expenses, he put in longer hours at the office, and as soon as he got home, he devoted himself fully to her. On his approach to Kelly's room, he would inquire, "How's my little fighter doing?" But he would mostly ignore me. Year after year, the trend persisted. As Kelly saw specialist after specialist, I figured up how to take care of myself. I was able to handle adolescent issues alone, do my schoolwork without assistance, and prepare my own belongings for field trips. Never in her life did Mom work. Being Kelly's advocate and personal nurse was too much for her to handle. With a crystal clear strategy and flawless grades, I sailed through my final year of high school. Since my parents were preoccupied with taking Kelly to yet another college application specialist, I applied for scholarships anonymously. I was so ecstatic to receive my full scholarship letter that I practically rushed home the moment it arrived. I went into the kitchen to see Mom making Kelly's special gluten-free meal. For State University, I received a full scholarship, Mom. There will be no cost to you or your dad. That's lovely, my dear. Do you mind setting the table? Now that Kelly is on new meds, she must eat at regular intervals. For me, everything came to a head at that time. It didn't matter how much I accomplished. I would never be the main focus here. However, I have chosen to let it motivate me rather than depress me. I had something more important than their approval or attention. At last, I was free. I didn't get a proper farewell from Mom before I left for college because she was preoccupied with Kelly's most recent health problem. I recently got some petrol money from my dad, and he told me to drive safe. Time at university passed in an instant. Indulging in my studies to the fullest, I finally made some true friends and graduated with honors. Upon graduating, I was immediately recruited by Reynolds and Company's marketing department, and my income skyrocketed. In college, I didn't hear much from my parents. At most, I'd get an odd text from Mom inquiring about my well-being, which would then proceed to detail Kelly's most recent health problems. Once I started working, though, that all changed. About half a year into my employment, I received my first call. The tone of Mom's voice when she spoke to me, "Erica, honey," was unusually saccharine sweet. "Your dad and I are in a sticky situation. With Kelly's medical expenses, it's clear that she needs additional therapies." Interrupted her. "How much do you need, Mom?" A mere $2,000. Next month, we will repay you." No matter how many loans I gave them, they never repaid any of them. Unfortunately, I was unconcerned. I experienced an unusual feeling of contentment because, for the first time in my life, I thought I had something that people required. After that, I crossed paths with Mike. Optimism and humor were constants in his life. He never failed to make me laugh. After a year of dating, he proposed in the very same break room, ring concealed in a coffee cup. My mom's initial reaction upon hearing the news of our marriage was, "Oh, but Kelly's having some health issues right now. We may not have much to offer." A strong, "We don't need anything," was my response to her. "We're handling it ourselves." We executed it. Our intimate wedding, attended by only our closest friends, was picture perfect. We did it all on our own. Mike proposed, I planned the wedding, and we returned from our little beach honeymoon prepared to start our lives together. We saved every cent we could after working so hard. Our savings allowed us to put down a small apartment's worth of money in just 2 years. After 3 years, it was fully repaid. We ought to start a family, Mike suggested one evening as we sat on the balcony, observing the sun go down. In his eyes, I saw the perfect man who had provided me with the one thing I lacked as a child, a genuine relationship, unwavering love and support. Yes, I responded, we should. Anne was born healthy and beautiful on a spring morning. Mike documented her every move with photographs, making him the most doting father I'd ever seen. She was just 2 months old when he received a promotion at work. Just one business trip, he assured me as he kissed Emily's forehead. 3 days in Chicago, then I'm all yours again. That morning, I was the one who drove him to the train station. I didn't see him again after that. It was the train corporation, not Mike, that called me. Something had gone wrong. A train came to a halt. No one managed to escape. The weeks immediately following Mike's passing were a blur. Going through the procedures of feeding Emily and changing her, attempting to keep us both alive while feeling half dead within, I went about my days like a ghost. At that moment, I didn't need the insurance company's details regarding Mike's life insurance coverage more than anything else. Assist me, please. I called my mom and said, Mom, my voice quivering. Nobody can help me out here. While I gather my bearings, would you be able to lend me a hand with Emily for a couple of months? Any amount you desire, I will gladly pay. A considerable delay was heard from the opposite side, saying, Oh, honey, Mom gave me a little pep talk. Then I'll own it. I'm not as youthful as I once was. Having a kid is incredibly taxing on my body, and I just cannot put my health at danger due to my hypertension. Maybe you could bring in some help, Erica. Do you currently have the insurance funds on hand? I felt a slap from the words. Mom had never worked because Kelly required her continuous attention, and I thought about all the years she had spent caring for Kelly. But at this very moment, when her other daughter, her granddaughter, needed her, then I answered, Yeah, pretty much without emotion. I'll figure something out. That is exactly what I did. Maria, the lovely nanny I hired, adored Emily as if she were her own child. My kid received the greatest care possible because to the insurance money, and we gradually adjusted to our new normal. With each passing day, Emily's smile became more pronounced as she transitioned from infant to toddlerhood. The phone call regarding Kelly's engagement followed. By the way, your sister is getting married to James Peterson, Mom said over the phone. An enormous real estate development firm is in his family's hands. Do you think it's real? As I watched Emily arrange the blocks on the floor of our living room, I remarked, That's fantastic. I'm happy for her. In contrast, the subsequent call was far from happy. Dad seemed anxious. Erica, I think it's important that we discuss Kelly's wedding. We're going to use the house as collateral to get a loan. Feeling queasy, he informed me the sum. No, Dad, that's where you'll spend your golden years. Even for a day, you can't put that at danger. Now listen here, he began, his voice adopting the authoritative tone I recalled from my youth. We will ensure that Kelly has a proper wedding so that the Petersons do not believe we cannot. The paperwork have already been signed by us. I made an effort to reason with them. I even offered to chip in for a smaller party, but Mom was too hurt to accept. Erica, you are completely confused. Kelly has an important day today. Her ideal nuptials are well-deserved. Her prospective in-laws must not think we're ordinary. My own wedding, perfectly little and understated, came to mind. Mike and I were pleased to begin our life together debt-free as we had paid for everything out of our own pockets. However, Kelly undoubtedly required something more substantial. With Kelly, there was always a hunger for more. As one would imagine, Kelly's wedding was lavish, opulent, and, according to Mom, faultless. My parents' ideal daughter, Kelly, became anything but once she and James uprooted to Boston. Can you believe she won't even take our calls? One night, Mom broke down and sobbed into the phone. We took out that loan for her wedding, and now she won't even help with the payments. I restrained myself from saying, "I warned you," and instead remarked, "That must be hard, Mom." Not only did my parents begin phoning more frequently when they needed money, but it was a gradual process. For the first time in years, they remembered my birthday, wanted to see Emily, and invited us to Sunday dinners. It was comforting to feel as though we might actually be a family. I began to pitch in, assist them out by doing things like grocery shopping and paying a few bills. A 2-week trip to Florida and a new automobile for Dad were my surprise gifts to them on their 35th wedding anniversary. Mom actually hugged me and said, "You're such a good daughter, Erica." It had been years since I last remembered her doing it. Afterwards, Dad fell ill. Very ill. He was out of commission for months due to an emotional issue. After Emily went to bed one night, they invited me to stay over. "We're going to end up losing the house," Dad replied, his voice quivering. "The loan payments, without my salary." Mother was inconsolable. "We are at a loss, Erica. Already we have fallen behind on payments. Come live with us," Mom asked abruptly. "After school, we could assist out with Emily, and you could chip in for the debt. We would be devastated to lose our house if you did this, my darling." I reflected on the life I had created for Emily and myself, my apartment and my independence. "Mom, I'm not sure. The journey to work from this location takes 1 hour. After saying please, Dad's expression turned terrified. "We'll find a way to make it happen." Emily would absolutely adore spending time with her grandparents. It was true what they said. Her expression brightened the moment I mentioned the possibility of moving in with Grandma and Grandpa to Emily. Our move-in was completed within a month. A young couple with stable employment signed a 1-year lease with me, and they've been wonderful renters. The house seemed like a fantastical castle to Emily, who was so ecstatic that she ran about and explored every room. I am now responsible for paying the bills and the loan. After dropping Emily off at school, assisting with her schoolwork, and whipping up her favorite snacks, Mom appeared to magically become the grandma she'd never been before. Emily would be greeted with a "Look what Grandma made for you," as she would take a cookie out of the oven. While Emily was beaming, I would attempt to block out the memories of the many times I returned home to a deserted kitchen when I was a kid. I thought it was working for a little. Dad's condition gradually improved. I convinced myself that seeing Emily's happiness was worth enduring the long commute. Tried to bear in mind that I was assisting my parents in maintaining their home every month as I paid off the debt. Still, I couldn't shake the nagging thought that a voice was whispering, "How much longer can this continue? When is the other shoe going to drop?" When Dad got better and went back to work, I saw that Mom began to find reasons not to watch Emily. "Today, Erica, my back hurts. I used to be much younger. It's quite draining to keep up with a kid her age." She came clean with it one morning. "You need to get a nanny, in my opinion. This is too much for me to manage." As a result, I brought on Karen, a kind elderly woman who hit it off with Emily right away. I used to wonder why I was still staying at my parents' house every morning as I set out on my hour-long drive to work, especially since I had a great apartment only across town. Mother would make her renowned apple pie, the one Emily loved, and remark, "Oh, but we love having you both here," whenever I brought up the idea of returning. "We get along great, don't you think?" I would bury my annoyance for another month, while Emily beams, her face smeared with apple filling. It lasted for a period of 2 years. Then, one night, after Emily had gone to bed, my parents sat me down. Mom said, "Honey," her tears beginning to well up, "we still have 2 years left on Kelly's wedding loan." Dad dove right in. "Although it may be asking a lot, Would you be able to remain till it's paid off? Finally, getting free of it is within our reach. I reflected on the tedious trip and how my life had been interrupted. However, my thoughts turned to the joyful expression on Emily's face as she described her experience living with her grandparents. "Ugh," I responded, "one more year." I renewed the lease for my tenants by giving them a call. The turning point arrived the following day. Kelly stood in the doorway, her belly protruding significantly as I ascended to the house, following yet another exhausting day at the office. "Move away from the door, Kelly." Even Mom was startled from inside. "You'll catch your death in that draft." Kelly turned away from me while grinning mischievously. Well, look who's here." It seemed like entering another era on the inside. As Kelly slept, her mother flitted about like an anxious hen, making little adjustments to her pillows, taking her temperature, and making sure Kelly had all she needed. "I need your favorite dinner, Kelly, and there's herbal tea for the baby." "The bomb went off during supper, Kelly." "I've decided to have the baby here," said the woman, "so you and Dad can help with the newborn." Like a Christmas tree, Mom's face brightened up. "Of course we'll do it. No problem at all. We're here to help." Sitting there with my fork halfway in my mouth, the recollection of myself and 3-month-old Emily frantically phoning Mom in the aftermath of Mike's death struck me like a punch in the stomach. "You know I can't risk my health taking care of a baby, Erica." I stared at my mom, my mother, and realized clearly what I had been avoiding for so long. A halt had been achieved. There would be no change at all. Kelly would perpetually require their assistance, while I would perpetually be compelled to comprehend. In the 2 weeks that followed, I saw the painful repetition of past events. Bringing Kelly breakfast in bed, making sure she had appointments with the doctor, and making sure the house was stocked with her favorite foods were just a few ways Mom waited on Kelly. My mom's weekly apple pie delivery, which had provided a nudge to keep Emily and me there, suddenly vanished. The last straw was overhearing Mom and Kelly planning the nursery for my and Emily's rooms one night. I reached my breaking point. I entered the gathering place, the living room. "Is that all? Are you really planning to ignore the events of the past few years? I have been contributing to your payments, and Kelly didn't just leave you with a huge debt." Indignant, Kelly scowled. "Oh, at last. Saved by street Erica." "Kelly, honey, don't get upset. It's not good for the baby," the mother said. I persisted, saying, "No, let's discuss this. She vanished after you mortgaged your house to pay for her wedding, so let's talk about that. Let's discuss the fact that I've been making loan payments while she was away enjoying life to the fullest." Kelly expressed her disapproval with a snap. "No one requested that you make a payment. Feel free to return to your beloved flat if you're dissatisfied with this place." "Erica," Mom said, motioning for me to go to the door, "how about you dash over to the store? A few items are required." She forcefully placed a shopping list in my hands. "It'll give everyone a chance to calm down." Sending me to my room made me feel like a little kid, but I obeyed. I was hoping that getting some fresh air would clear my head. I came back with the food items 20 minutes after that. My heart froze at the sight that met my eyes. In the midst of our hurriedly packed bags and boxes, Emily sat on the front steps, sobbing. She hid behind me and yelled out, "Mommy," while she sobbed. My Aunt Kelly scolded me. When I started to cry, she frightened me into leaving our belongings behind and exclaimed, "We have to get out of here." I felt a sudden jolt of anger. Then I barged into the house. "How dare you?" I yelled out. "How dare you treat my daughter like this?" "Erica, calm down," Dad said. "Excuse me, but I refuse to relax. I have observed your preference for Kelly for a long time. Even though I needed your assistance with Emily after Mike passed away, you seemed unconcerned. You flinch, though, when Kelly snaps her fingers. This is the way you're going to compensate me for all the money I spent on your bills, loan, and house." by removing my child from my home. Now listen here, Mom started. No, hear me out. I have always taken it upon myself to be the dependable one, the responsible one, and the one who should be able to read Kelly's needs. When Kelly wasn't present to want it all, you gave me scraps of attention instead of the all I've given you. The shopping bags were snatched from my hands and slung across the room. Vegetables were all over the place, eggs were cracked, and cans were rolling over the floor. While Kelly grinned and Dad's cheeks flushed with wrath, Mom let out a gasp. "Leave," he yelled out at the top of his lungs. "You have no right to return to our home, so please just leave. You're not our daughter," Mom said with a distant tone. "We never want to see you again." As I stared at the individuals ostensibly meant to be my family, I found myself gasping for air. After that, I walked out, putting an end to my 28-year quest to be adequate. As I stood on the pavement that night, around by hurriedly packed boxes and bags, I felt entirely disoriented. As tears streamed down Emily's cheeks, her small fingers clenched mine firmly. In an effort to collect my thoughts, I drew out my phone, my hands quivering. I had to give the tenants 3 months' notice since I couldn't legally just kick them out of our apartment. It was rented out for another year. I contacted a local hotel via phone before arranging for an Uber XL to assist with our luggage. I sat in the dark with my laptop, looking for short-term rentals, while Emily dozed off in the hotel bed that night. Just 15 minutes away from my workplace was a fully furnished month-to-month apartment that I discovered the next morning. It was far from ideal, but it would satiate. During Emily's breakfast, I contacted her renters. "Hi, Lisa," I greeted my renter. "I wish I could avoid giving you notice, but I must. The situation in some families has evolved." Lisa was taking it all in. "Certainly," she responded. "We will begin searching immediately. Erica, please be careful." Things were off for the following 3 months. It was as if we were in a constant state of flux, neither quite at home nor quite homeless in our temporary abode. Emily, who often speaks quite a bit, kept to herself as she thought about everything. After what seemed like an eternity, Lisa finally called to let them know they had located a new place. Emily and I returned to our apartment 3 months and 1 day after being evicted from my parents' house. I felt a change occur within me as soon as I turned the key to the lock. Our house, a sanctuary of refuge, not a single instance of drama, partiality, or treading carefully. "We're home." Emily went on a wild goose chase, finding all the books and toys we had left behind. I took a good look at our budget that night after Emily had gone to bed. Things were going swimmingly for us. I was able to save more money every month since I wasn't taking care of my parents. I established automated monthly payments to a new savings account that I had set up for the express purpose of Emily's college fund. We returned to our regular schedule for the subsequent weeks. Emily was warmly welcomed by her pals upon her return to her former school. I dove headfirst into my job and eventually got the promotion I had been eyeing while I was still living at home with my parents. A period of 6 calm months elapsed. School, job, movie nights, and weekend activities were our pattern again, and Emily was no exception. Simple familial dynamics, no drama, no remorse, no one else. We were then awakened one Sunday morning by a knock on our door. I peeped through the crack because I didn't think anyone would be there. Every beat ceased. Standing there with a newborn in their arms were my parents. I opened the door nevertheless, even though it was a bad idea. "Erica, please," Mom began, her voice trembling with emotion. "We need your help." My dad appeared older and more frail than I remembered. "Kelly, she's gone?" Standing in my doorway, they spilled the beans. No one had been invited inside. It had come to light that Kelly was unfaithful to her husband. He couldn't claim paternity after a DNA test. After divorcing her, he flatly refused to take legal custody of their child. And Kelly? After she left our parents and the baby, she vanished. We have no idea where she is, Mom said through her tears. She won't answer our calls. Erica, we need each other. Please return to the residence. Assist in debt repayment. The baby needs your help. I'm too old to care for an infant, Mom commented, her face betraying her exhaustion. My darling, please. Our home will be forfeited. I gave them my full attention. All they have is the innocent infant in their arms, Mom's manipulative sobs, and Dad's frantic eyes. All of a sudden, enlightenment washed over me. No, I whispered softly. Tears dried up in Mom's eyes suddenly. What? I rejected it. You won't get any assistance from me. This time I refuse. How can you be so heartless? Mom's voice grew louder, resonating all the way down the corridor. The people who own your home, we're going to hit the streets. Because you're too self-centered to lend a hand, they're going to seize our home. Curious neighbors peered out their doors as well. Do you really want to do this in this room, Mom? Fine. My voice remained constant. When Mike passed away and I was caring for a 3-month-old baby, you flat out refused to help. Let's talk about it. We need to discuss the mortgage you took out on your house to pay for Kelly's wedding. Just as Kelly has abandoned her daughter now, she abandoned you with that debt. Let's talk about it. My lack of empathy is not at issue here. This is about you accepting responsibility for your actions and how they've played out. How dare you? My dad kicked things off. No way. How outrageous. Your unwavering bias is the root cause of this problem. Kelly learned from you that she could do as she pleased without facing any repercussions. Now you expect me to tidy up after you? Once more, not going down. We're your parents, Mother sobbed. Hardly saying no, I stopped. You are the parents of Kelly. The night you dumped my daughter on the street, it was crystal apparent. Okay, now you can go, and please return no more. Leave my address behind. Put my number out of your mind, like you did for the majority of my life. Disregard my existence. Despite their objections, I leaned against the door and shut it, breathing heavily. Even though I could hear Mom's cries coming from outside the door, they no longer frightened me. Mommy, Emily observed me from the hallway. Are you okay? I went over and gave her a bear hug. Absolutely, my darling. At least I'm doing all right. Okay, and available. My final encounter with my parents was at that moment. What became of them, Callie, and the infant is a mystery to me. Whenever Emily inquires about them, I am forthright with her. I advise her to cut ties with abusive people, even if they are relatives, because doing so can be the best thing for your health. Our lives are going well right now. With Emily's help, I'm able to fulfill my career goals, and we're creating the life I've always imagined for us. One founded on actual love, not obligation or manipulation. Late at night, I'll look at old family pictures and have a little melancholy about the things that could have been. Then I remember that I made the correct decision when I see Emily, who is growing up confident and strong because she knows she is loved without condition.